Hello there, I'm James Bays from Al Jazeera and we're at the Democratic National Convention. Welcome to the Facebook Live lounge where we're going to be talking about what's coming up in the next 5 days. Right now, 10:30 in the morning here on the first day of the convention on the Monday. Of course, this goes on just like we did last week with the Republicans. It goes on for 4 days and the crescendo at the end is seeing the candidate, which of course this time around is Hillary Clinton. We have a guest with me, hopefully in a moment, but that's an example, I think, of the very tight security that we have at this convention, that the guest is currently outside in the very hot temperatures here in Philadelphia, going through the security. So hopefully he'll join us in a minute to give us some of the flavour within the party, because he is one of the party's delegates. Let me, though, run through some of the key issues that you could talk to us about today coming up here at this convention. Clearly, the fact that it's back-to-back with the convention in Cleveland means many people are still talking about what happened there, what Donald Trump said in that final speech on the Thursday, and in the last few hours talking about the first opinion polls that show that Donald Trump had a bump after Cleveland. He went up in the polls, one poll suggesting that Trump on 48, Clinton on 45, a 3-point difference between the two, and that as a result of what happened in Cleveland over the last week. How are the Democratic Party going to respond? Well, so far they've had their own little wobble at the start of their convention, that over emails, not Hillary Clinton's emails. This is a different email scandal. This is the party's own emails suggesting that the party structure was not actually even-handed in the way it should be, and was actually working, it seems, possibly against Bernie Sanders. Certainly he has always said that he didn't believe that the Democratic Party was working in a fair, even-handed way. And as a result of those emails being leaked, who were they leaked by? We can discuss that in a minute. The chair of the party, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, has already said that at the end of this convention, after Thursday, she's going to stand down from that position. And in fact, in the last hour or so, when she was speaking here in Philadelphia in front of people from her own state, from Florida, she was actually jeered. Yet another email leak. And already we're hearing from senior figures in the Clinton campaign that they believe that Russia might be behind that leak. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but certainly we're told also that officials in the administration, security officials, are also looking at the possibility that Russia was behind those leaked emails given to WikiLeaks, which adds an interesting dimension to all of this, because some have been pretty critical of the Republican nominee Donald Trump and what seems to be a reasonably soft line on Russia when he's been speaking about foreign policy. He has certainly said that he believes he could work with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. He believes if they sat down together, I think his quote was, they can avoid the drama that is currently there in the relationship. Quite how just meetings is going to achieve that breakthrough, considering, for example, Secretary of State John Kerry has endless meetings with Sergei Lavrov, and on key sticking points like Syria and Ukraine, they don't seem to find a way to find any consensus. Remember, you can give us your questions if you have any questions about what's going to happen at the convention. Al Jazeera will be covering it on all sorts of medium. We will be on the old-fashioned television, broadcasting every hour on Al Jazeera English, and I'm one of the team that will be providing that coverage. But of course, you can contact us via Facebook, via Twitter, via Snapchat. Let me just give you some account details. At AJ English on Twitter, and on Snapchat, AJE News, if you want to speak to us. Among the other issues that I think we need to look at as we discuss what is going to happen here in the coming days, I think, is the tone of this convention, and comparing it with the Republican convention, which was an unconventional convention. How different will this one be? I suspect it's going to play out in a more traditional manner, a slick political operation. The question is, in this campaign season, is a slick political operation working, or do they need something very different to take on Donald Trump? Certainly he has a somewhat conventional, maybe not in his views, but in his style, running mate in Mike Pence. And we've seen also on the on the Democratic side, Hillary's gone for a pretty safe choice in Tim Kaine. I've got a question just come in. Is the blaming of Russia just subterfuge by Hillary? Well, I think the big question there, and so far we're hearing from her campaign manager and others floating the idea of Russia, is if we're actually going to hear it formally from any US security agency. If we hear from the CIA, the NSA, from one of those official sources that they believe Russia is behind this leak, then I think that will be an interesting development with regard to this. Question now about what about Wasserman Schultz's new job with Hillary campaign. I've certainly not heard of a new job as yet from Wasserman Schultz, for Wasserman Schultz with the Hillary campaign, but I think Mike Dowd sending that question in. It's certainly something to watch very closely because she is a friend and close colleague of Hillary Clinton. We're going to be joined in a moment by our guest, who is more of an expert, much more of an expert than I am on democratic politics, because he's one of the delegates for the Democratic Party. So we'll be discussing some of this with our guest, who comes from North Carolina, in a moment. Questions to him if you want, as we continue here on this Facebook Live. Remember that we've got to watch for some very big speeches coming up in the next 4 days, and one of the most important speeches in many ways comes on this, the first day, and that's because it comes from Bernie Sanders after his challenge of Hillary Clinton. Is he now the loyal soldier? Is he going to back her fully going forward? I think that's the case, certainly in media interviews he's done. He has questioned the choice of Tim Kaine. Will there be any other barbs coming from Senator Sanders when he speaks to the convention this afternoon? The other key speaker, Michelle Obama, will be speaking to the convention on this, the first day, Monday. But I think Senator Sanders will be watched very closely, as will his supporters. No trouble so far at any of the demonstrations, but there are demonstrations taking place around this city, even though it's extremely hot, record-breaking temperatures over 100 degrees here in Philadelphia over the last 24 hours, and going forward. Today, they're also expecting to break the records when it comes to temperatures. I think we now can speak to our guest. No, we can't. We'll be speaking to him in a second about the situation here at the DNC and getting the perspective of an insider here at the DNC, and you can put your questions to him as well in what we have left. I'm afraid only 5 minutes left on this Facebook Live broadcast from Al Jazeera English. And joining me now is Chris Sgro. He's Democratic Party delegate from North Carolina. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us, as you go into this, the new, we can't take too much credit of polls. I mean, but there seems to have been a slight Donald Trump bounce. Are you worried?
I'm not worried. I'm confident that the Democratic Party is going to come out of this week's convention more unified than we have ever been. I'm already starting to see Bernie Sanders delegates get behind Secretary Clinton. The enthusiasm that we're going to have after Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders this week is going to be unprecedented, and I have confidence that we're going to carry my state of North Carolina.
But you've already had a wobble with his emails. Is that serious?
No, I think that the email thing is a distraction. Again, I think that we're going to come out of here unified. I know that folks are looking for there to be a story there. I don't think there's much of one.
Well, I mean, some people in the campaign are saying Russia might be behind it. That seems a pretty big story if Russia is trying to disrupt the U.S. political process.
That certainly would be. I don't know who's behind it. Regardless of who's behind it, I think it's a distraction from the real issues that the country faces, which are the economy, civil rights, our reputation on the world stage. Donald Trump would be terrible for all of those things. If we can't afford a Donald Trump presidency, these emails are a distraction.
Now, in terms of those issues, I spent last week at the Republican convention in Cleveland, and it was pretty clear that actually there wasn't much substance discussed. I mean, it was mainly cheerleading. Is your convention going to be similar? Is it going to be a jamboree, or are you actually going to get into the nitty-gritty of policy?
No, I have confidence, as with the 2012 convention, that we're going to hear from Secretary Clinton and others the policy objectives of this party, how we're going to continue to move the economy forward as we've successfully done under a Barack Obama presidency, how we're going to move forward on issues like those that ring truest to me on LGBT rights, and what we're going to be doing on the international stage. So I think you're going to hear concrete policy objectives coming out of our convention.
Well, we've seen some division going until this point because Bernie Sanders has been fighting Hillary Clinton until very recently. What does, and the question we've got just come in, what does Hillary Clinton do to unify the party?
You know, I think that she's already started to unify the party. Senator Sanders has also sought to unify the party. She is making sure that the contrasts between herself and Donald Trump are known, and as those contrasts become clearer, Democrats are not going to vote for Donald Trump going into November. Independents are not going to vote for Donald Trump. The party's already starting to unify, and Bernie Sanders standing on the stage this week is going to continue to do that.
And you think he's going to give a totally united message? Because already he questioned when he was on a TV talk show the pick of Tim Kaine. Do you think there'll be a few barbs in there?
You know, I certainly hope not. I don't expect that to see
not a Ted Cruz moment.
No, I don't expect to see a Ted Cruz moment. Bernie Sanders knows that the future of this country is too important to not stand on that stage and give the most ringing endorsement he can of Hillary Clinton.
And what has Bernie Sanders won in this, in terms of the platform?
Well, you know, he's won the most progressive platform in Democratic Party history, and it's not just him. It's a movement behind him. It's delegates like me who care deeply about gay and transgender rights. We've all benefited from his candidacy, but now it's time to unify behind Secretary Clinton.
You mentioned the economy as one of the messages, but it's clear that Donald Trump's message seems to be working with regard to the economy, particularly this message that it's the foreigners that are to blame, that they are taking your jobs. On trade issues, for example, Hillary Clinton has had to flip because of Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump on that.
Yeah, you know, I think that Donald Trump has scared a lot of Americans, but I think his ceiling on who he can convince that there's some outside influence that's ruining this country and we must make America great again is something around 40%. And as the discussion moves on in American politics, as we move through our convention week, I'm confident that we're heading towards a solid victory in November, and that's because we've had 8 successful years of economic growth out of the worst recession outside of the Great Depression in American history.
And he painted, Donald Trump, a pretty bleak, dark picture for Americans. How do you think the contrast will be on Thursday when Hillary Clinton makes her speech?
I think Secretary Clinton is going to say what we all know, which is we've come far, we're a great nation, we have further to come, and she's going to outline the policy objectives there, but it's going to be a hopeful message. And Donald Trump's not going to be able to fearmonger his way to a victory in November.
Chris, thank you very much for joining us
here
on Al Jazeera, here in the Facebook Live Lounge. So that is our discussion today. We will be back here on Wednesday between 3 and 4. My colleague Kimberly Halkett will have a panel of guests to explain how things are going. Key point then, because it'll be coming towards the end of Wednesday and heading before that key last day, which is, of course, when you get the speech from Hillary Clinton. You can follow what Al Jazeera is up to on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter at AJ English, and you can find us at Snapchat, AJE News, and, of course, the very old-fashioned, old people's medium will also going to be on the TV as well. So look forward to speaking to you soon.